What's going on, guys? Today on this Shoky Quickie, we're going to take a look at some oldies but goodies. By oldies, I mean literally like, I don't know, 4 years ago. We have here today the Fall of Cybertron, Optimus Prime, and Ultra Magnus from Takara Tomy. Now you're asking, why is it not the Hasbro version? Because these are the Takara versions. And if any Transformers fan know, Takara means better paint, realistically. And slightly better variants, too. And of course, these guys are exactly the same mold, and realistically, Ultra Magnus was never in the game. Of course, Optimus was, main character you play as. Is what it is. But, yeah, you guys know I love me some Transformers, and these are actually some of the cooler ones we've had in the last few years. I like the details on these guys. I like the way it transforms. So let's go ahead. We'll move Magnus out of the way. Realistically, they're the same, other than the fact they got different paints. So you get a great representation of how Optimus looked in the game, and you get this really nice metallic red, really good silver going on here. This is actually kind of a silverish but dark color, whereas I think the American version, the Hasbro version, was a bit more of a light gray. There's even repro labels that you can buy to make them a little bit more accurate, like adding the Autobot logos here, maybe in these stickers here. But the wheels are like the big thing. To have the pink energon flowing through them was something only the Takaras did. And this one is really no exception, and it's beautiful. And if I can, I'll pop up an image right here of the normal version. And you can see the difference in the color and then some of the details. Now, this guy does, of course, come with just one little accessory here. He gets his great little, gun. Now, the one thing that bothers me is they do that toy thing where they don't make it a solid piece of plastic. You know, they do the ridges and make it essentially hollow with the shape of the gun. Now, the only thing that really sucks about the Fall of Cybertron line, there's a whole lot of gimmicks they missed with the way the weapons could work, and even a few things in the transformation and details in this guy. Now, there was third-party versions of this, which are pretty much perfect. In fact, I actually tried to make a version that would add the thrusters back here. That's why I even bought a 3D printer in the first place. I actually tried to make that piece. But due to the limitations of that 3D printer, I really couldn't, and honestly, it sucked, because it would have been really, really cool to have a fill-in piece here that would give it the extra thrusters on the back, just like you would have in the game. And I was also working on, I even fully built this thing in the program, a really, really accurate version of his gun that would slide over his hand when in robot mode. But I think let's take a look at Magnus real quick, just because he's a little bit different than Prime. Okay, so set that down. Now with Magnus, you do get a very different accessory. You get this great big sword. That thing is so cool. But it is also fairly limited in the fact of how it's built. It is clearly just pegged onto the gun itself, but you can remove it like so, and then make it just a sword piece, I think. Hold on. Forgot how it goes back together. Pretty much like that. Though, oh, I'm dumb, guys. Totally missed a piece there. So I had this right. I totally missed the important part, you know. Okay, so now it is a sword by itself. I like the details. I like the red paint, the silver edging on it, the black in the middle. And maybe if they got the hilt, or the pommel here, with a little bit of silver, that probably would have completed it. Maybe a tiny bit of energon flow through there. Now the sword, I think somebody used one during the game. But like I said, Magnus is not in it, but it's funny that he comes with this accessory, not Optimus. Of course, the gun is the exact same mold, exact same color. Now, I did originally have both versions of this. I did have the original Hasbro, and I will tell you right now, there's a massive, massive difference in the color, because the Hasbro version is a much straight blue, like, not quite that blue, but more like the light blue that Magnus would be. It is not metallic like this. This thing is beautiful. Love the coloring on this. With the blues, the silvers, the pinks, everything. The way his windshield is this nice kind of reddish pink. He's got all these extra highlights up here for these lights. Same thing here. The camera keeps focusing on the things back there. You do get these cool kind of headlights right here. Sort of lit up. That's even different from Optimus. Optimus doesn't even get that treatment. But he does, of course, get the pink in the grill. Yay. You do get what is essentially the exact same wheels, but a lighter pink. Still really cool. I do like it. And you do get a lighter blue on the backside. I think this is closer to what the Hasbro blue is on Optimus. And that's weird. And you do get this extra detail right here versus what Prime has with nothing. And these guys do share the same transformation, but I'll just blow through that real quick. It's real easy. Come to the back, unpeg from these little tabs from the bottom of the feet there. Unfold the legs. Go ahead and knock that all the way down. Split the legs, so just a couple tabbies and a couple thingies there. Take the foot, it's on kind of a ball joint here, but then it swivels down, locks into place. Do the same thing on that side. And for the arms, you untab the bumpers, like so. Untab the arms from the sides. Flip it around so you get the arm out. Come on. Oh, wow, that elbow was stuck. That one wasn't. Okay, we fold that like so. Just get it out of the way. Rotate the hands. See, this is where some of the problem I feel with this guy comes into place. But we'll talk about that in a second. Now you get a tiny bit of automorph here because you rotate the arms up, which reveals the head. Okay, you snap that piece around the back like so. Straighten out your arms like that. One problem is that you have to really get that head piece up all the way. And then you take the smokestacks and you fold them back, which is weird because, you know, you think Optimus, his smokestacks are going to be up, but no. Okay, so get him to stand like so. And there we have Optimus Prime in robot mode. Now, of course, you're going to have the same transformation for Magnus, so we'll just jump cut that. And now we have him in robot mode. And, you know, he's clearly going to be the same, but to differentiate him a little bit, I'm going to leave the smokestacks up. Now, there is a third-party company that came up with some little missile pods that would plug in up here, and I've never bought those, but they were kind of cool in their own right. So let's set Magnus back here, and you can see these guys look great together. And just the coloring on them is just so beautiful. I really wish I still had the standard Hasbro versions laying around. I forgot if I sold or just gave them away. A friend of mine, his son was really into Transformers and things like that, and they were just honestly taking up a ton of space. So I kept the Takara versions and got rid of all the other ones. Now, it is really cool. I mean, they share the same transformation. They share pretty much every single part. The only thing that is different is, of course, the head sculpts. So let's take a closer look here. Get a very, very obvious Ultra Magnus head on this guy. And then, of course, you get kind of an early days version of Prime. You get the nice little ears up here. You get the cheek vents, and you do get the nice Prime kind of crest right there. That is really, really nice. These things definitely scream early-ish Transformers, and I love the way the game actually played into sort of like G1, how they were fighting on Cybertron and had to leave to basically come to Earth to survive, and that more or less kicks off the Great War from the first generation. Let's take a close look at Optimus real quick. We'll leave his brother over here. Of course, like I said, show off the head, and it does go all the way around. It's really hard because of the shoulders. He's on just a ball joint. He has an open cut there on the back of his head, so you can kind of have him in flying mode if you really want to. He doesn't ever fly, but you can totally Superman him like this. Yay, I'm Prime, flying away. Yay, okay. And of course you see a little bit of the arm articulation, just straight up ball joints. Both arms go all the way around, as arms do. It is a nice rock here. So, you can totally articulate it that way. You get single jointed elbow, mostly just for transformation. That's as far as the arm will open, and of course you can close it exactly back the way it was. Wrist does rotate, of course, by means of the transformation, but you do get that posability out of it. Now, the bumpers back here, which is one of the problems I have with this guy, they're just on a ball joint, and you can just rotate them all the way around. But they are really, really annoying. And in the actual transformation model, his bumpers don't do this. I think believe they actually come off and come around underneath his body. Now, there is something I want to show here that is a major difference between the animation model and the actual toy. See how his forearms have the wheel here? That's obviously highly inaccurate, because if you come to the back, you totally see the wheels right there. So they molded the toy as the show or the game would have it, but they did not make it that way. I do believe the third-party big version of this does solve that problem. It does transformate? You heard me. Transform that way. And, you know, it's cool. I just wish this version did it. It would have been a little more difficult to do, oops, in this size, but, you know, it is what it is. Now, let's see here. Coming down, you do get waist articulation. It is on a ball joint, but you're very limited just by how the abs kind of do. So this is not his abs. This is still all chest. He just has a very big chest. Now, I do like the fact they added in the pink down here on his torso bits. That's just a nice little bit there. Legs are on ball joints here, and of course swivels right here. You're not gonna get, you can't go all the way. Well, maybe you can. Okay, you can virtually. Nope, actually, that did not work. Okay, so you can go almost all the way around with the thigh swivel, but you can see you can make it up with the ball joint if you really want to. He does do a very nice Jean-Claude. Yay, Jean-Claude Van Prime. You do get a really nice deep bend in the knee because of transformation, which of course is pretty much where all articulation comes from on a Transformer. You do get the ball joint down here for the foot to give you some nice ankle pivot. If you really want to, you can pull it out here, and you can get a little bit more, but of course you lose some balance on it, like so. Now if we give Prime back his gun. Okay, Magnus, you just fall down. I'm tired of you. So you can totally mount it in his hand. No big deal. I think it's just a 5mm peg, like any old school Transformers. But the thing is, and this is what I wanted to do with mine that I was building, of course, in the game, his arm transforms into whatever weapon, just like kind of in the Michael Bay movies did. So what I wanted to do is have it completely slide over the hand and into the arm socket here, and even cover up that wheel with a proper version of his gun. I spent weeks modeling the gun in the 3D render to actually try to print it. The other thing is you also have an outside peg over here, but you can't really use, you can use this more or less, but that really looks dumb. It does work with the sword though. Let me see here, where is Magnus's sword? So you do have the sword, you do have this great side peg, and you can totally peg the sword into it like that. That looks pretty cool. But once again, I think his arm should transform instead of him having the sword to hold. It's not really a problem, it's just something I would love to see it do. Now, that is a really, really tight peg hole. And of course, the sword does do hands, just like so. So you can have holding the sword here, and the sword over here, or gun over here. So now you've got Optimus really ready for battle. Now this guy is very nice and posable, though some of the ball joints are a little loose at this point. I mean, he's a few years old, and he's been in storage, but that's nice. It's pretty cool. And of course you got Magnus off to the side here, just looking like whatever. And of course you get the exact same articulation with him, but you just get different details. I do like that. I prefer like these little like top lights here, having them nice and pink. Of course you get the pink upper shoulders up here. You lose the details through the chest down here. One thing I forgot to point out on Optimus, you can see right there. Same thing here. You get a nice bright pink little inside the knee joint. This is much, much brighter though. That is a much darker paint. And then I guess that's why they did this Energon and a different thing. Magnus came out after Optimus, So, I mean, there's some, this one shares a bit more of the coloring with the Hasbro Optimus, like with these legs are a lot closer. Those are much darker. Then you have almost a gunmetal gray instead of this light gray. That's a big difference between Magnus and Optimus, even in the Hasbro version. Because the Hasbro version had this guy not in metallic, but in the regular blue paint. And you can see I try to make him look a little bit taller because in the series, just period, Magnus is a much larger Transformer even than Optimus. He's like just that much bigger of a truck, since his whole body is trailer and everything. And of course, he shares all the same similarities. You got the things back here. Here they missed the paint just a little bit. You can see how that's more silver than it is blue. So they missed a little bit. Same thing inside here. So, I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's just, you know, little things here and there, guys. But I do like Magnus. So I had to have him. I like the details. I like the color. And like I said, I bought these guys a few years ago. They adorned my room where I used to live. And once again, this would be really, really cool if the gun actually did what it is. Instead of holding it as a gun, his arm would become a gun, and that would be awesome. And you could do it, because it'd be the same mount for every weapon. You could totally just make all of the guns that way, guys. And it's something I was actually totally on board for doing. And of course, adding the thrusters that were back here, that of course would turn into the back of the leg thrusters and just fill in the gaps whenever transformed. Just something I never got to do, and I kind of wish I had. But that's going to be it for the review of these two awesome Transformers. Let me bring them here. Now, there, the camera's now focusing on them. You could possibly find these guys online. I don't know anymore. Like I said, they're a little old, but I do like these things. And I do have an image, if I could find it. I did a fun thing with Prime where I took two of those swords, mounted them on his back, and called him Wingblade Prime. Because I didn't even show this one. I'm sorry, I'm missing things here, guys. Because you can totally take the sword and peg it on his back for back storage. That's just neat. And then when you have it in like super sword mode, you get an extra like peg. You can peg it into the back of the... That's one problem with the sword. Because of the way it pegs together, it is kind of crappy. You can totally peg it onto the back of the arm. Like so. So he's got some weapon storage. You would totally never do that, but he does have it. Oh, jeez. Alright, so that's it. Sorry guys, one other thing just in here. I totally forgot to show you how the sword gun transforms. Oops, I'm bumping the camera. So, you take the gun. Of course, you normally would have it like so, or like this. Flip it. You take the sword handle after you've split the sword to pieces, and you just insert like so. Now, the complicated part is how this thing sort of plugs together. So you've got these like grooves right in here and a couple pegs right there. They have to line up like perfectly on this thing. And it's kind of a pain in the butt, I'm not gonna lie. So this peg I think goes right in here in this first little groove. Like so. Wait. Like, no. I think I had it right the first time. Like I said, it has some problems. There it goes. It would not snap. I was trying to put it together off camera. Would not snap together. That time it did. And then you take this side, which is kind of cool. I like this part. And you've got just these kind of slots right here that will tab on right through here. And, you know, they line up. Like you see here, it's got a round cutout. It'll line up on the barrel of the gun. Pretty much like that. Now you get the super mega awesome gun sword. Mega awesome super gun sword. Either way. So if you hold it like this, which you never would, you can totally still shoot it. You hold it like this, it's totally just a sword. And of course Magnus can hold it. Now I like the fact that when you hold it like this, it does kind of jut into the arm like that, and it looks kind of cool, but it is just a big ridiculous weapon, like so. And yeah, now we're going to cut back to the rest of the review, since I forgot to do that. Alright. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this look back on some old fun toys I still have laying around. I have your sword, Magnus. Come for it. I'll catch you guys next time, and remember to always keep on nerding.